Today we are going to be making matzo lasagna in honor of Passover. So the recipe I'm using today is adapted from the New York Times recipe for matzo lasagna, minus things like the anchovies and the crushed red peppers because my kids wouldn't eat that, but feel free to add those back in. We'll link the recipe below for reference. So in case you don't know, so during Passover, you're not allowed to eat anything that is leavened, so no leavened bread, which includes lasagna noodles. So matzo lasagna replaces those lasagna noodles with matzo crackers. So I've got all my mise en place, I've got my pan, I've got my pot, I've got all my tools, so I think we're ready to get started. All right, so to make matzo lasagna, you are going to need about a 1/4 cup olive oil, 4 garlic cloves, which you can slice or put through a garlic press, some black pepper, freshly ground, 2 cans of whole peeled tomatoes, some sea salt to taste, 1 rosemary sprig, 24 ounces of ricotta, I like to use whole milk, 1 large egg, a 1/4 cup basil leaves chopped, plus you're gonna want some extra to put on the top, some freshly ground nutmeg if you have it. I don't, so I'm just gonna use the regular, shake it out of a little plastic tub nutmeg. You'll want 1 box, about 10 ounces of matzo, a pound of fresh mozzarella, this one's pre-sliced, about a 1/2 cup of freshly grated Parmesan. And that's all you need. So once you have those together, let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do here is start with some olive oil. We're gonna add our garlic. Go. And then as that heats up, we're just gonna saute the garlic. If you're using anchovies and red pepper, you can add them now. We'll also add a little bit of black pepper. It's already starting to sizzle. And we'll just saute that for a few minutes until it's fragrant and a little bit toasted, but you don't want it to cook so fast that it burns and gets black. Okay, our garlic is nice and golden, so the next step is to add the whole tomatoes, and we get to crush them as we go, which I find very satisfying. So sort of 1 tomato at a time, just squeeze and drop them in. So once we have squished all of our tomatoes, I'm gonna turn the heat down a little bit because it was up higher to get that garlic a nice golden color. So turn it down, not quite to simmer, but closer to simmer temperature. And then we're gonna add a little bit of salt as well. So I have my sea salt. I'm just gonna take a pinch or 2. I'm not very good at measuring. The recipe says 3/4 teaspoon. I usually put in less salt than a recipe will call for. I find things are quite often over-salted, and it's easier to add at the end than to take it away. And then last thing, 1 sprig of fresh rosemary. Just drop it in there. We'll bring that up to a simmer. So once it's simmering, I'll turn the heat down even more and cover it, and we'll just let it go for about 20 minutes. All right, here you can see it starting to bubble here. So it's starting to simmer, which is great. So I'm gonna turn the heat down a little bit more. Give it a cover, and then we just wait. All right, so while our sauce is simmering, we're gonna go ahead and make the ricotta mixture. So I've got my ricotta here. Nice satisfying plop. I've got my 1 egg. I've got pepper, a little bit of salt, and then some nutmeg. Okay, and then we're gonna mix it all together. And once that's mixed, the last thing we wanna add is the freshly chopped basil. Beautiful. Okay, we are ready to layer our matzo lasagna. Our sauce is done, our ricotta's mixed. I've got the mozzarella divided into 3 piles, 1 for each layer. I've got my Parmesan, and I have got my pile of matzo crackers. So the first thing we're gonna wanna do is to put about 1/2 cup of sauce at the bottom of your lasagna pan. Just like with lasagna noodles, you wanna make sure that there's a nice liquid layer in between at the bottom so that nothing sticks to the pan and burns. Oh my gosh, that sauce smells so good. The quality of tomatoes for a sauce that's this simple with so few ingredients makes a huge difference. So I'm just smelling like really good quality tomatoes. Okay, once you have your sauce layer, then you will be doing your matzo layer. So you'll need to break up the crackers to fit. Luckily, mine came pre-broken. So we'll just fit in as many little pieces as we can. And then we will take 1/2 of our ricotta mixture. So I don't measure, I just kind of estimate. And I'm gonna just put it in little spoonfuls or spatulafuls around, which makes it easier to spread. And then we'll just wanna make sure that's spread all the way out to the edges. And it has that beautiful basil flaking in it, which should add some nice flavor as well. And I'm trying to not pick up any of the little like cracker remnants as I do this. All right, I'm gonna add a tiny bit more here and here, the edges. Okay, now, once we have our ricotta, we're going to want more of the tomato sauce, so about 3/4 cup. Go. I'll spread that out as well to the edges. I'm gonna try and make sure that the chunks are evenly distributed so they're not sort of all piled up in one spot. Totally kosher to use your fingers. The sauce is really, really hot still though. So I'm gonna try and do it with a spatula. Okay. And then we're gonna wanna use 1/3 of our mozzarella. And so you can just lay it in the big chunks if you want, or I'm gonna rip mine up a little bit so it's a little bit more evenly distributed. You wanna make sure you get a bite of fresh mozzarella in every bite. If you don't have fresh mozzarella, you can absolutely use just regular shredded. It's also a lot less expensive. So I'm making 1 just for our family, but if I was making 10 of these, you know, I might opt for shredded mozzarella instead of the fresh. Okay. There we go. And then we're gonna do that whole thing again. So we'll do another matzo cracker. Layer. And then we'll do the rest of the ricotta mixture. another 3/4 cup of tomato sauce. Making sure to remove the rosemary. Just set it aside. Another layer of mozzarella. Okay, so you've got 2 layers of everything, and now we're gonna do a final layer of the matzo. So I'll try and make this one look really pretty. Not that you'll see it under the sauce layer, but I know it's there. Then one here, then one here. And then we'll use the remaining tomato sauce, which should be about 2 cups. So it's a 1/2 cup. And another 1/2 cup, and 1 1/2. So if you're using store-bought matzo, it should be flaky enough that you don't need to do anything with it. You can just use it as if it was no-boil noodles. If you made your own matzo at home and it's a little thicker or a little denser, you might want to soak it for a little bit first. There's our tomato layer, and then we've got the last layer of cheese. And then we've got our Parmesan, which we're just going to sprinkle on top here. And now that is ready to put in the oven.